Hello, and welcome to another episode of Genie in a Podcast. I'm your host, Christian, and today we're going to get right into the episode. But I have one of our favorite guests, Jake from at Christina Connection. We're going to be talking about Fighter, which I know it's his favorite song and video, and how it became so iconic and the name for Christina's fandom. Okay, so I know Fighter is your favorite video now.
Yeah.
What is your favorite song in this moment? Not like ever.
God, well, I would probably say
How is
I
Jake
don't.
feeling today? Are you feeling more rock and roll? So is it a fighter kind of day? Or are you feeling romantic? Is it an impossible or loving me for me?
Probably, yeah, probably a little more subtle. I don't know
Oh,
if it's even
really?
from Stripped yet. I was
What comes
thinking
to
more
mind?
Drew Heady, yeah.
Oh, okay. I wasn't
That
even
was
thinking
kind of my,
Aguilera.
yeah, that's my favorite at the moment.
Yes, that's a good choice. But in preparation for this video, so for today, we're going to be talking about Fighter, how it became like the name for her fandom, what the lyrics meant to her, and kind of like the background of the song and production of it. So in my research, so actually, I watched the video, of course, but also I watched the behind the scenes, which up
Making
until
the video.
recently I hadn't seen in a long time.
Yeah, neither have I.
Yeah, right. And so it was cool to see, and really it is probably my favorite video of hers. It was so creative. Her and Floria Sigismondi, is that right?
Yeah, Sigismondi, I think.
Sigismondi, okay. Yeah, they were, like, in their bag, and they were just so
Yes.
creative. I like it has, like, a darker tinge towards it. Even, like, Floria's interpretation of it, you know, how, like, they wanted to do the moth instead of the butterfly, which is, like, the obvious pretty thing.
Right.
Then kind of also, like, whenever she's I think at that point, is she a larva? What is she? Whenever she has the pins in her back, she's
Yeah,
like
yeah. She's a larva at that point.
yeah, and so, like, that being symbolic for all of the pins or times that people have pushed on her or,
Exactly.
you know, she's been knocked down, that she's taking that and throwing it right back out, like, it's making her stronger.
Right. Yeah, it was a very aesthetically symbolic video with a lot of meaning, personal
Mm,
meaning. And I thought that Floria captured Christina's vision really well, and it was just a great match.
yes. What do you think? Because like, everything else, like, it was very intentional. I love like, I remember even back in the day, just, like, her, like, laying well, we know it was she was laying down, but really she's supposed to be, like, up against the wall.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
whenever the moths are flying all over her but what did the ballerinas mean? Were they the, like, haters that made her into the fighter she is?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they represented haters. Yeah,
Mhm.
maybe. Or maybe they represented some of her contemporaries at the time. Or some, I don't know, maybe they represented some people around her or something like that.
Right, which also takes us into the whole, like, writing of it. So she had written the song, you know, pieces of it, the melody and lyrics, while she was promoting her debut album, and then, like, culminated whenever got together with Scott Storch. But so it's kind of a culmination of people that it's about. From
Yes.
my research, you know, like, it's obvious that we kind of, like, interpreted it for her former manager. What was his name?
Steve Kurtz.
You're right. There it is. Steve Kurtz.
Yeah.
And, yeah. But also, so there was this, like, one episode, I forget, I think maybe it was Genie Gets Her Wish, maybe it wasn't, or Behind the Scenes or something. So we've gathered that this was a culmination of different people that it was about. I think it was in Genie Gets Her Wish or one of the Behind the Musics where she got kind of close to her father. And I think at one point they were in Ecuador, like the consulate or embassy.
Yeah,
Do you
that
remember
was
seeing that?
her. Yes, that was her first MTV Diary.
Oh, okay. So I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch that tonight.
Yeah.
But it showed her, and, you know, she was excited. I think at that point, she was still in that, like, longing for what she didn't get, and maybe she was hoping to get closer to her father, and now we know, you know, they have since probably broken ties, and she's, you know, healed
Right.
herself, but I definitely think Fighter was a part of it was about him.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't doubt that. I think it can definitely be interpreted that way. And I don't think she would deny that. I think the main points of it were probably about Steve Kurtz
Oh, yeah.
and maybe a couple of people in that circle at the time who betrayed her and stole from her based off of a couple of interviews during the stripped era.
Yes.
Um, I think it was mainly about that, but also, yeah, I don't think she herself would deny that it could be symbolic of the situation with her dad and some other people.
Right, right. And so there's actually this piece, I didn't know that at some point have you ever, like, read or heard of the books Chicken Soup for the Soul?
Yes, of course.
Okay. I didn't know they did like a music version of it, so it was like behind the song. And
Okay.
Christina she had, like, I guess, her story in there, and it was about Fighter.
Oh,
In The Chicken Soup for the Soul, she said that it was about a very chaotic and abusive home where she didn't feel safe, and also about, how we know that previously in the past she experienced a lot of like bullying growing up for her passion for music. So she related that to like how she became smarter and stronger from having to deal with all that like tribulation growing up. And then she talks about how she came up with the pop craze, the pop phenomenon
hmm
is what she referred to it as. That's whenever she referred to it. She was coming up with ideas while she was touring and all the experiences she was going through and the people who probably weren't so nice to her.
No, I
Yeah.
think the subject matter definitely covers things from her childhood until up until that point with Stripped.
Oh
So I
yeah.
think it's about many people and many situations,
And then I wonder which lover too, because like I've also heard that it's about
right?
a lover. It could only be a Jorge, because that was her first love. But we know that
Yeah,
they
I
were fine.
right. Yeah, I don't really feel like it is about any of her exes or anyone like that. I really don't.
It could be about Dallas Austin,
A little bit, it could be.
the situationship.
Yeah,
Yes. But I wanted to ask you, what is your favorite performance of Fighter? Like, what sticks
my
out to you?
favorite. Well, there are a few that stick
Oh
out
yeah,
to me.
especially because she
Um,
sings at every concert.
Yeah, it's a signature song for sure. One of her several signature songs. I love the stripped in the UK DVD version. So that's a really good version. I love the MTV Mardi Gras version from 2003.
Oh yeah,
I would like tell people if they're watching to go check that out on YouTube because it's a good one. Mhm.
definitely.
And actually, the most recent time that I saw it live was in November of last year at the Harris Walls rally, and that's also on YouTube, and that's a really good fighter. It's like it's a little different. It's kind of cool in a different arrangement. It's a really good one.
Yeah, that's another one I thought of because that really was a good one, and plus she looks really good.
Yes, it was amazing.
Mine? Okay, so, like, preparing for this, I watched which it was not on YouTube, but, I found it whenever she performed it, I think it was 2002 on SNL. She also sang Beautiful that performance
Oh
that
yeah.
time.
Okay.
So that was
hmm
good, but also it was, like, an early on and I feel like that was whenever she was getting rid of her like, she was getting ready to transition to what we would know would be back to basics,
Yeah,
but,
I think it was '03.
oh, okay. So then, yeah,
Yeah,
it was towards the tail end of
the
Stripped.
stripped era. Yeah.
Yeah, because she had already gotten rid of the black under, layer.
hmm Yeah,
And with that one, and also the Storytellers one. I feel like Storytellers, every single performance was so good.
it was good.
I think that was during a time of in Bionic where she like still had the fire until
Yeah.
like
Not still.
things happened. But that was
Yeah.
a great yeah, I really wanted to go and be in the audience for that Storytellers, but it didn't happen.
Oh, did you have the opportunity?
Yeah, this is whenever I was in California, but, of
Oh,
course,
okay.
they were asking you to submit, like, potential questions. So, like, if they asked an audience member, like,
hmm
"What would you ask her?" And, of course, like, I don't know why I was being so honest, but I would have I was
About
this
her
was, like, the
divorce?
no, this is the height.
Oh.
I don't think we knew about the divorce yet, but this is the height of Lady Gaga and everything, and
Oh
so
shit.
I was gonna ask her, "What do you think about that Lady Gaga comparisons?"
Mm.
And, how she is and growth and
Yeah.
whatever, and it was yeah, I did definitely not get chosen because of that. But
Maybe.
there there is one person so, like, every single time I watch that Storytellers, there's one guy who's, like, so into it. At some point, she even, like, points him out because he's, like, so into the music and dancing. I wonder where he's at.
Yeah, I feel like I know who you're talking about. I think I've
Yes.
seen a couple times and noticed someone in the audience. Yeah.
Yeah. We need to get him on. I need to find him.
Get him. Yeah.
Is it you? Was that you in a wig?
No.
Okay.
No. Would be nice.
Why do you think Fighter became the name for her fandom? I feel like it's championing, the underdogs and everything she had to go through, but
Mhm.
also it could also be seen as defensive.
Yeah, it can be seen as that way, but I think if you know Christina,
Yeah.
it's more of a motivational kind of thing. It's more inspirational and kind of, that kind of thing.
So this is one of the songs that we spoke on in the previous episode that she wrote with Scott Storch. And we know that they created magic. But what I didn't know during my research is that this was inspired by, based on, maybe not based on because they didn't have to credit them, but the song November Rain by Guns N' Roses.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
yes, supposedly, yes, that's true. I have not checked to see if they're similar, but I wouldn't
Well,
doubt that because Christina
yeah.
herself has said stuff about Guns N' Roses before and how when she was growing up they were like it, and they were very cool when she was throwing.
I didn't know that,
Yeah.
but I did check, and it's more so the tempo, but also the front section where it's a little bit
Mhm.
more orchestral.
Yeah, there
And
were a
so,
few more comparisons actually in terms of how Fighter sounds. There were more comparisons, like they compared it to a Janet Jackson song, I think called Black
oh,
Cat
Black
or
Cat.
something.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that's such a good
And
song.
so there were more comparisons than just Guns N' Roses, but they were all kind of rock influenced in that way.
Yes. Do you wish she would do a rock album? Which would you prefer, rock or like an R&B?
Well, I would love a rock album from her because I think she really has that in her. Like, just for example, with Sick of Sittin' and
Yeah.
songs like that that are very, very rock, and the Led Zeppelin cover she did at the Jazz Fest in 2014.
Oh yeah.
I think she has really great taste when it comes to rock, and the Tina Turner tribute she did. I
Oh
think she'd
yeah,
be,
that
I
was
think
good.
she'd be really good with rock. And when Fred Durst came on stage and stuff, and how she
Oh
rocked that
yes.
out. So that's another example.
Oh my gosh, Fred Durst.
Right. But I would love a rock album. I love her R&B. I love everything else.
Right?
I just think that would be special. One
Mhm.
more thing in
Yeah.
terms of rock music and her experimenting with that, I think other than like performing with the Rolling Stones and doing that cover and all of that, she also did that John Lennon cover of his song Mother,
Oh yeah.
which was very cool. And I think she would be great experimenting
That
with that.
was very much so in the vein of like Beautiful, where it was just raw.
Yeah, yeah, because the producers of Beautiful, and that video you posted actually of the guy who mixed Beautiful, he
Mike
mentioned,
Pensato.
yeah, he mentioned Imagine by John Lennon, which is
Oh yeah.
similar. So, yeah, there's that connection for sure.
And then of course she has her whole, her deep relationship with her mother, and that was like her savior.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's really sweet.
it's very fitting for her to sing that song.
Do you think that Fighter is an LGBTQ? Like, do you think that's a theme anthem? In my research, it said that Fighter was an anthem, but I feel like it's more kind of a like by way of just because like whereas Beautiful, it's kind of like universal, but Fighter, I feel like it just happens to be an anthem because a lot of gay people happen to go through a lot of trauma.
Yeah, well, that is true, and I agree with that for sure. But I think Beautiful is more of the specific kind of anthem to LGBT, whereas
Yeah,
Fighter is more of a general anthem. It could be more of an anthem for kind of everyone, just in hard times and trying times. I think both of them are anthems, but Fighter is a little bit less of an LGBT anthem and more of like an anthem for everyone, I think. I just think it's in general a very anthemic kind of song.
right. And then, so like, whenever I was watching the video, I was thinking back to the whole era of Stripped, where like each one gave so much different. Even like in the behind the scenes, she mentioned like, you never know what she's going to do next because she really had so many different characters that she was playing into.
Yeah.
And I think I talked about it in the Can't Hold Us Down episode, where apparently she faced a lot of backlash because
Mhm.
of the character she was portraying. But it's interesting that she had that kind of backlash because, like with Fighter, like that's all obvious character as well. Whereas Dirty is a different version and character.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, I think
yeah.
I guess it's probably because Dirty was more sexualized in
Mhm,
terms of the standard and how people think.
mhm.
I definitely think Dirty was kind of more risky and sexual than Fighter, obviously. They were both kind of hard hitting, but Fighter wasn't as, revealing in that way that's gonna upset certain people.
True. I don't understand why Can't Hold Us Down had such a negative
Yeah, I
backlash
don't
for it.
either. I don't really either. I really don't either. Yeah.
Yeah, and that one also she worked because she worked with David
David
LaChapelle
LaChapelle.
on both of those, Dirty and Can't Hold Us Down.
Right. Right. And oh, well, that's the other thing I wanted to say. Besides the fighter video, she also worked with Floria on the Hurt music video.
Oh my gosh, I totally forgot about that. You're right.
Yeah, she directed that too. So that I think
And
that's
she
cool.
needs to work with her again because like
I would love
both
that.
of those are just like beautiful, like dramatic, very like cinematic within their storytelling.
Mhm. Right. And Floria is kind of known for darker music videos. She worked with Marilyn Manson before she did the fighter video, certain
Mhm.
people like that. And that's probably like how Christina knew of her. And we know Christina's somewhat of a fan of music like that. She incorporated the Marilyn sample in
Oh,
her burlesque
yeah,
soundtrack.
for the cover of Beautiful People or
Right.
Beautiful no,
Yeah, that's
that's his original. I forget
right.
because like, one time I was thinking, I was like, "Dang, does he have any songs that have charted that are his own?"
Yeah. Yeah, he has a couple, I think.
Yeah,
Like
because for the
two.
most part, all I've known him for is, like, other than Beautiful People,
The
was
Dope
Tainted
Show.
Love.
Oh,
Oh, I've never heard that song.
the Dope Show? Oh, it's a good one.
Okay, I'll listen to it after this.
I know he's like canceled, but it's a good
Is
one.
he?
Oh, well, in the I shouldn't say that
Oh,
then.
yeah,
But
because no, you're right. Because didn't there were the
in the last
allegations
few
that there was kind of yes, now I remember. It's so hard to keep up. So, like, in the critics' reception of it, of course, everybody, like, loved the song, or they at least liked it. But I didn't know until, like, the research is that it only peaked at number 20 on the Billboard, like, Hot 100.
Yeah, here in America anyway. I know that it did well in several other countries and
Mhm,
peaked within the top 5 over there in
which is
like
crazy.
Australia and a few other ones, yeah.
Yeah. And then, well, like we knew that Stripped only got to number 2, but also Dirty only got to number 40 something, 46, I think, the top. Which
Yeah, I'm
which
pretty sure.
we'll get to that in a different episode.
Oh God.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I put this cover
Tell
because
me the
I felt
inspiration
like
for
it
this.
kind no, like yeah, I felt like this cover kind of reminded me of the aesthetic from the Fighter video. So, with like the red and black, it's kind of darker. I thought that was kind
Graphic.
of cool.
No, I agree. It
Yeah.
fits really well.
Yeah. No, I randomly thought of the butterfly. I think there's a few moths on that too, by the
Oh,
way.
perfect.
There might be a
It's
couple,
so
but I thought
cohesive.
that you're right. That
And
happens with
ladies and
workout.
gentlemen, this is like everything he goes through every single time we have him on. He redecorates his entire room.
It's a different background every time.
Yeah, it's at least cohesive with that episode that we're talking about. I love it. Mine's not. At least we have Stripped, and that
No,
one's
it's changed a
back
little,
to
yeah.
basics.
I
Yes.
know you had like this cover for a little bit, or
Yeah,
like the
it's around here
blender with
somewhere.
the pool.
Something that I potentially wanted to ask other fighters. So, like, if you're hearing this, you should DM us or me or whoever, somebody affiliated with this, their stories about Fighter and how it relates to them. Because let's ask you, how do you feel about Fighter? How have you related to it? If you want, I can go first.
Well, yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I think it's something that I connected with early on, and then eventually it kind of like faded away. That's how I felt also about Beautiful. It was just like because I heard it so many times. And although it only peaked at number 20, whatever, on the, what did I say earlier? Was it 20?
I thought you said 40 or
Oh,
something.
okay. It only peaked at number 40 on Billboard. It was number
I don't
one
know.
on my Walkman.
Yeah.
So, I related to really well because I was like a young, I don't know, maybe closeted gay person. And then I felt like I had a lot of like anger. And so that was kind of like whenever I wasn't, because Beautiful, I feel like is really anthemic and it's like softness. This is kind of like gritty. It is in your face. It's like Beautiful is just like that encouraging with its heart. This is like
A
your
little more
fingers in the
aggressive.
mud, just kind of like, you're going to make it through this even if we have to, like, kill somebody. Just
Right.
kidding. Gun violence. Like, being in high school, I just remember, like, even being in band, I had my CD player, I had Stripped and listening to it. I was getting hyped up just for whatever it was, even if it was, like,
Oh,
band.
yeah,
But,
totally. Yeah.
being around
I thought
people
of some.
great, great. But being around people, not hiding in the band hall, being frightened to be who I was or being scared to
Yeah,
show who I actually was, and having kind of to put on that,
totally.
like, front. So that kind of, like, Fighter was kind of it helped me to create that armor to be in public.
Right.
And that's my story.
And I agree. And I, no, and I think a lot of people can relate to that with the song. I'm sure so many of us felt that way. I can definitely relate to it in similar ways that you mentioned. And I just think, obviously, it's kind of an anthem for everybody in terms of overcoming hard times and those times making you stronger, even if you think that could never happen. It does. And I wanted to point out the transition on Stripped from Walk Away to Fighter is amazing and so underrated. I think that's a really good transition. It's very
Oh,
cool.
yeah. And well, because Walk Away, I feel like is just about like, I guess that also could be broad. It could be about a scorn like a lover, a former lover.
Yeah.
Or it could be about well, I feel like it mostly applies to, like, a lover, but it could also be about just, like, leaving any kind of, like, platonic, like,
Hmm.
friendship or a parental figure that is bad
True.
for you. But that is like, would you say it's a ballad?
Um,
Just because it's so
yeah,
slow.
Walk Away, I'd say that's a ballad.
And then it switches up because like that one's more like R&B, like
Hmm.
ballad. And then it switches up and then it gets so hard with like Fighter.
Right. Which I love
Yes.
that kind of transition. So I think that's super special and,
Yes. Which
that
goes
kind of
back to your point, because like your one of your favorite performances was the stripped DVD where she's like in the chair and she's like that guy's like writhing around and he's like the lover that she
yeah.
needs to leave, but she's like addicted to that love. Um
Hmm.
Anxious attachment style. Oh yeah, because then ever the blinds come down on the tour and then it comes back up and then she's kind of triumphant with her legion of other fighters.
Yeah. Which that's crazy. I didn't even realize that they transitioned that in the tour until you just said that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. I did not realize that. I love that.
Yes. And then also, like, whenever she did Dirty Fighter at the VMAs,
Hmm.
that was, like,
Exactly.
such a great performance.
Yeah, I know I didn't mention that one as one of my favorite performances of Fighter, but obviously that's a standout.
Totally. And it's unfortunate we don't I don't think that MTV has uploaded, like, 4K or, remastered version. I don't even know if they have, like, a official version out, but,
Yeah, I don't know. They
they definitely need
might,
to get on
maybe a
that.
few years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Which a few
As-
years ago, by the way, they uploaded a version of Come On Over when she first performed that, the Genie and then Come On Over,
Okay, yeah, yeah.
I
Hmm.
think 2000, and then it's gone. So, that's
It's
weird.
gone.
Yeah, so, like, the ones that we have
Well,
now are, like, people,
yeah, I
like,
think I
who've
remember that
copied it.
version that MTV uploaded, and I don't think Fred Durst's part
No,
was
they cut out.
included in that. Yeah, they cut that
Right.
out, and oh, I
Yeah.
didn't know it was gone
Yeah, so they removed the whole
though.
video, which I'm wondering why that they did that too. And at some point, I think they did a remaster or, like, better version quality of the Virgin like, a Virgin Madonna Hollywood,
Yeah, they did. I
and that is
think a
gone.
few years ago.
Like, the
Oh
official,
my
like,
God.
MTV.
Yeah, I feel like they just did it for when the VMAs were coming up at that time of year, and then maybe they deleted it
That
afterwards.
sucks because then we lose that.
Yeah.
Luckily, we're all the fighters are all here, being archivalists.
So we have that anyway. Yeah, we're good.
Yeah. Bless the internet. Anything else you would like to say about Fighter, the video, or the song?
In terms of the song Fighter, I think in terms of it being relevant today, I definitely think it is because obviously she performs it all the time for her current shows and everything like
Mhm.
that. And especially the last time I saw her at the Harris Walls rally, I think it was clearly relevant to current events. And so, yes, I do think it's very much relevant and still fresh and current.
I totally agree.
Yeah, so I just
Yes.
want
Yes, perfect. We're gonna play a game now, and you're gonna finish the phrase.
to. Oh God. Okay.
Let's see. After all of the fights and the lies, what's the next line?
Because I'm like drawing a blank. I hear this
No,
all the
you're
time.
almost there.
Yeah. Yeah, you're
Guess you're
wanting to
wanting to hold me. Oh, I
haunt
didn't know
me or
that
hold
because
me. Is it
yeah,
haunt me or yeah.
hold me,
Okay. Will never hurt
which is
anymore.
yeah, which I thought it would was haunt me, but
I thought it
because
was
it's like
too.
that. But hold me, it's what it is, according to Apple Music and also Google.
Okay. Okay.
So, not only being a fighter, having to deal with this, it makes me that much stronger, makes me work a little bit harder, and then what?
Makes me that much wiser. So
Mhm.
thanks for making me a fighter.
Okay.
Obviously.
You tried to hide your lies, disguise yourself.
Disguise yourself through bitterness and lies, but in the end you'll
Close.
see.
I think this is another situation where maybe like
Oh
the
yeah, yeah.
lyrics
Disguise yourself.
through living in denial.
Yeah, you tried to hide your lies,
Just
disguise yourself
disguise
through
yourself.
living in denial.
Yes,
But in the end, you'll see, blah, blah, blah.
you won't stop me.
Yeah, I like this game.
Okay. How exciting. Excellent. Okay. I don't want it to be like too obvious. Never saw it coming. All of your backstabbing.
I guess so you could cash in on the good things before I realized your game.
Very good. I'm going to give you a 89% because it's never saw it coming, all of your backstabbing, and just so you could cash in on a good thing before I realized your game.
That was
I feel
close.
like some of her lyrics, like they're really wordy
Yeah, for sure.
because like that line, and just so you could cash in on a good thing before I realized your game. Like that's a lot of words.
Yeah, she's a lyricist.
Well, sometimes I like whenever she's singing, I feel like I don't know why I realized that. I was like, dang, that's a lot of words. And like, how does she sing that? Because like, and then she's like dancing around.
Yeah. Well, and I also thought it was cool, by the way, that just she and Scott were the only ones who made this song because you hear about
Yeah.
so many. hit songs that are
Songwriters.
by so many songwriters and producers, and it was just she and Scott for this one, and I think that's rare, and I thought that was
It really is. That's really cool. Random question.
very
Who's the guitarist on the track?
that is the icon Dave Navarro.
Okay, let's
We
see.
know
What
that.
other questions? Dang, now I want to like play games the entire like I should do an episode where we just play games. Like,
Yeah, trivia.
yeah, trivia.
That'd be
I'm gonna
cool.
have to do that. I'll have to let Ashley know. And maybe we'll get Josh too.
Yeah, have three of us on.
Well, thank you so much, Jake, for being on this episode. Everybody go follow him if you don't already at Christina Connection. And don't forget to follow us everywhere. We're gonna have something very exciting coming up in August/September. Say bye.
Bye.
Bye.